Oops.
Wonderful to meet you, Dr. Mo,
Yeah.
breast surgeon and PA,
Yeah.
medical advisor for Touch. We're on.
We're on. Hey, Mo.
Hey, Ricky.
The doctor's
Ricky.
in.
We are. The doctor is in on a Sunday because this is a special
Sunday.
episode.
Yeah, this
And
is a very, very special episode. And Val's here with us and our friend Paris Johnson. And today we are going to talk about and really introduce a clinical trial for triple negative breast cancer. And so I kind of warned Paris and said, you know, you got to talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. You got to break down all the science for us. But this is a really special trial for, as triple negative survivor, we don't have very many options. And so this is giving us a great option. And you know how I feel about clinical trials. We have to get more Black women in the trials. And AstraZeneca has actually brought us on as a partner to help them recruit specifically for this trial and provide, help us source Black women and help educate Black women about the trial, and then have Val's work her magic and provide, care and nurturing and all of the care that she provides as a navigator to keep women healthy and, thriving through this trial. So I'm going to start with letting Paris introduce herself because she's a badass. We love her.
Thank you. I appreciate the badass title. Hello, everyone. I am Paris Johnson. I am a site engagement lead for AstraZeneca. So what that means is, as far as my title, I support all of the institutions, the sites, the hospitals, the doctors' offices that run our clinical trials in oncology. So we work with them to engage with them, get them through the startup phase to start a clinical trial, and to help them to bring the patients in, make sure they have all the tools that they need to keep those patients in the clinical trial. So from my title, that's essentially what I do. But what I really do, kind of behind the scenes and more my function, is more in health equity. So I do whatever I can to support our oncology studies in our portfolio. It's about 30 of them, to make sure that we're bringing in the patients that are actually going to use the medications, with a focus on those that are underrepresented historically. So Black and brown people, bringing them into the clinical trial, but educating, helping them to understand what a clinical trial is, why we need those patients in our clinical trials, why it's important that they are in the clinical trials and that they understand it, and then supporting them through it. What are the barriers that they might be facing and how we can do better to support them, whether it be that they just need support to get to the visits, maybe we need to bring the visits to them, or maybe there's something else that's happening behind the scenes that they might need, whether it be resourcing, to helping them find and making sure that there's clinical health workers at sites and patient navigators and social support to support those patients as well. So my job is really focused very heavily on that health equity piece and making sure that diversity, and that we have diversity of our investigators, our sites, and our patients in our studies. So thank you.
You have us. I mean,
and of course, I have you, lovely folks, who are helping us to do that as well. And that's part of it, is really engaging with the community, engaging with our partners, our outside sources, to really be able to bring those patients the education and really get them engaged so that they have better treatment options at the end.
And this is kind of a new paradigm, I think, for clinical trials, in the sense that historically, like I've been PI on a number of trials, there has not been a level of grassroots community engagement that one doesn't just foster awareness, but truly leads to enrollment.
Right.
But that also contributes to people staying on that trial, right? It
Right,
reduces
right.
the recidivism that we see.
Right.
And I think that to me is amazing. And I think that this is a model for how clinical trials really ought to go. So the fact that this partnership is starting, and I mean, we know that when we trial is 30,000 plus women who are, signed up and ready to be engaged in something, but then what? And how do you get them engaged? How do you keep them engaged? And how do you make sure they're getting what they need, right? And not just getting the clinical side of things, but the human side of things. And that's what I'd love to hear.
Yeah. And the fact that AstraZeneca is doing this and has a Black woman in this role, it says a lot. I mean, we work with a lot of companies and we love all of our funders and supporters and all the trials that are happening. But I think that you guys are making a huge statement. And actually, isn't your boss a Black woman too?
I do have, there's quite a few of us
There's
around.
quite a few, I know, I
There's a
know.
lot of us in
So-
this role and in multiple roles here.
Yeah,
We're everywhere. And
I
so
know.
that's something I also bring to that education when I'm
Yeah.
talking to people is understand there are people that look like you that are involved in the clinical trial, the clinical
Right.
trial design, that
Right.
consent. I am the subject matter expert for the US for informed consent. So all of those consents, I'm seeing them. I'm making
Yeah.
sure that they are appropriate and that patients
Pretty
are not
amazing.
signing up for something that they don't understand, that
Yeah.
it's the language that they understand and that
Right.
the content is
Right.
readable and understandable.
Right. I love
Yeah.
that. I think that's a huge statement, you know, that the company is making and just to involve us. And so we're so grateful to have this
Mhm.
partnership. So,
You are as
so
well.
let's talk about triple negative because I know that there's a lot going on in the landscape right now with a lot of new drugs getting, getting good data in their trials. But I don't think most people understand it. I mean, it took me a minute to even digest it. I still don't know that I really understand it. And Val, that's our project later is to make this grid of all the trials that are going on. But I really want to understand what is this trial? What is this drug? It's called Tropion 5. So can you explain what this treatment is?
So Tropion Bresto 5 is a clinical trial that has a couple of arms to it. So when we talk about arms, it's like flipping a coin in buckets, right? So it's got a couple of arms to it. So one of those arms is we flip the coin and you may get on this clinical trial and it's standard of care. So there's a standard of care element to it where that's just whatever your doctor would give you anyway. And so it's not doing anything. We're not putting you, this is not a clinical trial where there's anything placebo. So let's just first start there. There's no sugar pills.
There's no sugar pill.
There's no sugar pill, none of that. So it's either you're going to be on that flip of the coin and it's what you would get regardless if you were in a clinical trial or not, or you're going to flip the coin and get the other side of it and you would be on our clinical drug, our clinical trial, which is medications that aren't necessarily, or this treatment regimen is not necessarily approved just yet. And we are testing it to see if we can get that approval. That said, Datroway or Dato-DXd or the drug that we are testing here is an approved medication. And so it is not that you are getting something that is completely unapproved. The regimen is what we are looking at. So it is
and Datroway has already been approved for HER2, right?
Yes, it has. It has been approved.
So for HER2. So this is new to triple negative, which is great.
Yes. Correct. It's new to triple negative, but so it is an approved medication. No matter what way we look at this, you will be on something that is approved and it is not completely investigational. But you're on that treatment arm because that treatment arm and what we're doing there is investigational. So it's being combined with another medication. And that is what we are essentially testing. So you could end up in one sense and on one arm or the other. And we're looking to see the efficacy. We're trying to see which one works better, which one has a longer lifespan for these patients compared. So we're comparing it just the standard of care and what you would get if you went to the doctor versus this other medication, which does have an approval. We just want to see which one works best. And we do have some really good data to support that our drug may be doing some great things. And that statistically, there is an improvement that's been seen using some of those prior data that was recently read out in October, which I know you've seen that.
And before we go there, let's tell people who this drug is for. What do you have?
We are looking for patients who have triple negative breast cancer. So it's first line treatment. So for patients who have not been treated previously and
for metastatic
cancer. This is for a triple negative breast cancer,
Okay.
metastatic cancer. So those that have not been treated previously, or if it is locally recurrent and cannot be removed through surgery. So if it's come back in a local space and it cannot be removed through surgery, that is who this particular treatment is for.
Okay.
So
I think we have to back up a little bit though, and even understand what are antibody drug conjugates and like what are some.
I was going to go there next.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Do you want to go there? Go for it.
Well, no. What I was going to ask you though. So now we know. Do you have to have a certain? Let's figure out who this is for.
Sure.
Like, you have to have a certain biomarker to take this drug, right? To take this to be in this trial.
A certain what?
I'm sorry.
A certain biomarker. Do you need like to take this trial? Do you need a special biomarker test to be in this trial? Is it for anybody with metastatic triple negative breast cancer?
This particular trial, I'm sorry, I'm on multiple trials, so I just want to make sure that I don't.
Yeah, I think it's, you
One?
have to have PDL1.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is a PDL1 positive we are looking for this
Right.
particular. I'm
So
sorry.
that's about 30 to 40% of
Yeah.
women with triple negative breast cancer. And I tried to look up how many Black women have that PDL1 biomarker. I couldn't find any numbers for that. And Val, you may not have that, some information there, but so you have to have this particular biomarker and get tested for that to be eligible for this trial, right?
That is correct.
Right.
And it brings up a really important point though, because I honestly, I thought the percentage of people with PDL1 expression was lower, but
is.
I think the number of people who are actually tested for PDL1 expression is probably dictating, some of the data that we're seeing on who actually has it, right?
Yeah,
So there's a little bit.
yeah,
of
we don't
sort of
really know.
bias there.
We don't.
And so for people who are watching, it's getting a little bit into the weeds in the sense that your breast cancer is determined by those hormone receptors on the cells, but there's additional testing that we can do, right? This biomarker testing that we're talking about isn't something that is always routinely run, but it should be asked for. If your doctor doesn't say you have expression of these targets, you may want to talk to your doctor and say, are there any other things we should be looking for on my cancer cell that might determine my treatment? So that's a really good basic question to just sort of ask your doctor, because they may just do those 3 hormone receptors, ER, PR, and HER2, right? And if you don't have those, you're triple negative. But then
Right.
what? Does that mean you don't
But
have
then
any
what?
targets at all? And it
Right.
doesn't. It used to mean you had no targets at all. It meant, your cancer cell was bald and we didn't have any little stations to target to give it a very a focused or a less toxic medicine. But now we know
Right.
there are other targets. And so
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of backtrack and make sure that people sort of understood that. I know there's
Yeah.
some folks that might be watching that are like, okay, so I got metastatic breast cancer. Let me try to get in this trial. But there's some other things we got to talk about that help you to understand if the trial is right for you.
Yeah. So that, and I think that, as triple negative patients, we're so used to not having the marker, right? So now, but for now, once you're metastatic is when you can really get tested and get focused on what is different about your cancer. So great. So now let's go back and talk about what this kind of drug is. What is this ADC thing? And maybe talk about Tropion-2, which was a prior trial that AstraZeneca ran and had really great results. So can you talk about that a little bit, Paris?
So TROPION-Breast02 was an awesome study that recently read out, as I was mentioning, that indicated that there was a significance in the extension of life that was seen in those patients, the quality of life as well. And so therefore we are seeing that there is a clinical benefit to taking that medication. So that medication came out, that's Datroway, as I previously mentioned, that is approved. And that clinical trial did indicate again that there was a benefit. And so we are looking to see a bit of a change in what is being provided to patients as standard of care. And this particular trial, we're really looking for people to understand that there is a benefit and that has been seen from taking this particular medication, so that they are aware that this is something that is available, even though we know that standard of care is about to change.
Yeah, and I think that the Tropion-2 was for PDL1 negative.
That is correct.
Right, so you didn't have to have PDL1. So I think it's great that you guys tested it for people without PDL1, and now you're testing it with PDL1 to see if there's any benefit. But it did show results better than anything else out there right now, and any of the other trials that are out there right now. So it's a really great opportunity for someone with, metastatic triple negative breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the side effects, how do the side effects compare to the standard of care?
The side effects are actually considered less than what was seen in standard of care. This is typical in a lot of the immunotherapy benefit, but the response to those side effects was much less and less severe. So the severity of the side effects, even when experienced, was lessened, including nausea, vomiting, the things that we constantly hear that people are most afraid of. A lot of those things, the severity was brought down from a higher grade to a much lower grade. So there's definitely, and that's what we talk about with quality of life. Your quality is much better when you're on these medications because you don't have those same side effects as well.
Yeah, that's really, really great. That's really great. Yeah, do you, Mo, when you want to talk about the ADC thing, explain that for us?
I could try to simplify it because it can be a little bit of a
Yeah,
a
the kind of
complicated
drug
thing
this is, yeah.
to understand. But when we talk about antibodies, right? Antibodies are developed in response to your immune system. So this is something that responds to or that incorporates a bit of your immune system to make it more targeted. So you got antibody and then a drug and you conjugate or you put it together. So that's the simplest way to kind of think about
Okay,
it
so,
in terms
okay,
of ADCs, right? So the three main components. The monoclonal antibody is a protein that's engineered to target cancer cells specifically. And that's the guiding component. So that's how you attach to the cancer cell. So that's the antibody. The drug is whatever the therapeutic drug is, and it may go in and target multiple cycles of the cell, multiple components of that cell, but it's a way of delivering a drug to a cell that's much more specific. And then the last part is there's this like chemical linker. So it's like you're locked down on the cancer cell, and then you gotta turn the key, and then you gotta open the door so that the drug can get in. And so that's what these are doing. And it's a much more specific way of targeting a cancer cell than the historic chemotherapies that we give, where it just targets everything that's in the fast growing phase, which is why you lose your hair. It's why your GI gets upset. It's
right.
why you get diarrhea. It's why you get, you get anemia, right? Because anything fast growing gets targeted by certain drugs that are given in a traditional chemotherapeutic regimen. So it's not so specific to just those cancer cells. But this is a different type of drug delivery system that's based on using an antibody or something that immediately recognizes something on that cell. So that to me is also really revolutionary and great for triple negative patients who always felt like, well, I have nothing specific for me,
Right.
because I'm estrogen negative, and so I got nothing. I'm HER2 negative. I got nothing specific for me. But
Right.
there's an increasing number of these. And what we discovered is that we can put them together now. So different companies, pharma companies, are even starting to combine their agents and say,
Yeah.
okay, let's take yours and I'll take mine, and let's put these two together. We know they work separately, right? A little
Yeah.
is good,
How do they
more
work
must be
together?
better.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
let's see if they work together. And so this concept of really targeting these cells in a very specific way, with multiple drugs sounds complicated, but it makes a lot of sense.
yeah. Makes a lot
Mhm.
of sense. And thank you for that. That helped me a lot because I was kind of thinking of it like Pac-Man. But
A
no,
little more like Harriet Tubman.
yeah, like, like no, but I love it how like you tap needs a key and you open the key and it can go in. So it's like just a different way than just a chemo drug. Just a drug would just like attack everything. So it's very targeted for our cells and stuff. So that is great. That is great. So we're really excited just to, to be a part of this and to, make this available to people. But Val, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do with these patients that we hopefully can help bring to the party, right? And
Absolutely.
I'm gonna pull up my favorite picture
What's
too.
Touch's role? Is there a role in recruitment or support or all the above? Like, I'm curious to know, where is our organization having the most impact? Because I mean, historically, and Paris, maybe you can answer this, but how many Black and brown folks were on some of the trials that informed this trial? Are we getting closer
Yeah.
to double digits?
We're close to double digits when we look at the study globally. That's where we become, and that's where there's a bit of a challenge because we do at the numbers, we look US based. We are now required by the FDA to have clinical trial diversity action plans. And so we are required to have a plan now that indicates we're going to enroll a certain percentage or number of patients who are Black or brown. We weren't always required to do that. And so now that we have gone back, we've looked at that historical data. And what we found is that we do enroll Black and brown patients in the US. We absolutely do. Unfortunately, a lot of those patients don't make it to randomization for one reason or another. So in other words, they don't actually end up on treatment. And so we're looking into reasons for that. But there, I mean, we are in clinical trials. We do join clinical trials. We do make it to the end of clinical trials. So it's not a novel idea for us Black and brown folks to join clinical trials. I know it sounds to some people, I talk to people, they go, we actually do this. And yes, we do. Historically, we do join clinical trials. We just don't do it at the same rate as other races do,
I
unfortunately.
love that you said we make it to the end of clinical
Yes.
trials, because I think one of the things we're taught in medical education is that they might enroll, you might get Black folks to enroll, but they're not always able to complete the trials. And so we see this sort of drop off or attrition rate that increases, in certain populations of people. And I think that is a strength of what Touch is doing also, because if that phenomenon is happening, there's a safety net there to try to catch that, right? And Val, I'll let you talk about it, but
because that's our job. That's Val's job, to keep them happy, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we don't do, no one's doing this. When this trial is over, we never go back to the community and tell them, this is how this worked. And it potentially could have worked better had we had more, underrepresented minorities engaged with the clinical trial. So when I called Ricky one day and I said, Ricky, we've got to figure out a way to get back to these communities and share the results. And community always asks, what happened on that trial? And there's nobody left to tell the story. So one thing is to tell the story. The other thing is to get people that have successfully gone through a clinical trial, because you all know, Black people are people of witness. Can I get a witness in church? Can I get a witness? So if these people are saying that they did well on the trial, or even if they got sick, but they recovered and they're happy that they did it, that makes a big difference in the decision-making process for a lot of the folks that would be eligible.
That are considering,
Yeah, absolutely. And then even from a clinical setting, we have to help our patients defend their decision to be on a clinical trial. So I think we do a really good job at explaining the trial, but then when they get back home and a family member says, why'd you do that? Don't you know about
You're gonna be a guinea
Tuskegee? Don't you know
pig,
about that?
you're gonna be a guinea pig.
And so we have to prepare our patients to go back and defend their decisions. And oftentimes we don't do that. And so all those little, it may seem small, but those things really make a difference in people really being informed, because it's an informed consent. So really being informed. And, I love the teach back method. A clinician talks to them about the trial, and then the clinician says, so what did you hear me say? Because that will give you at least a foundation of what the patient understood and what they may say to their family members.
Yeah, but I think that's also the fact that Val is a survivor and a navigator. She brings a whole level of knowledge and emotional support to that conversation that even another clinical navigator can't bring, because she's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So I think that the value that I hope we're going to bring to this whole conversation with patients is from this voice of, survivors that have been through it. And, I've been on a trial, so I think that, hopefully we will have a different conversation about participation, and really help AstraZeneca. So I'm trying
that feedback is extremely important to us, because I don't just take that feedback and do nothing with it. I take that feedback if you say, we're talking to patients and they're indicating that maybe there's a challenge at a site, or, something's going on, then maybe we internally need to take that and do better training for our investigators. So that they have, a better time with their physician when they're having that conversation. They feel more supported, because I think that has a lot to do with why people don't join trials. They don't feel supported. They don't maybe feel as comfortable with their physician. So it's extremely important that they feel heard and that active listening is happening. And that's something we are doing as well at AstraZeneca, is we are working on communication rollouts that won't just be internal, but external. Because a large part of the challenge with enrollment, whether it be Black and brown or white patients, is communication or a lack thereof. helping them to
Yeah.
understand the entire process. What am I involving myself in? What am I really signing up for? And what are the expectations? I think that is part of the reason we don't have the retention sometimes, is that there is something lacking maybe with our investigators. So we take the ownership of doing a better job of educating them as well. So that's a huge piece of feedback that we would love to make sure that we're getting from you all, is what are the sites, or what are the patients saying about the sites? And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
that they are
And
communicating.
we've talked about that a lot, Paris, too. You know, I think because we know we've kind of built this like our list of sites where we know the doctors and we know that they're talking to Black women the right way, but we also will coach them, you know, and we'll, you know, we kind of will introduce ourselves to them if they don't know us already, and say, this is what we're going to do for you and your patients, with the goal of, you know, retention, keeping women in these trials. And so I think we have to have this connection. I think also in all of the cities near the doctors that are in the trial, we have a support system in place. So we've got, you know, blessees in the neighborhood, in the zip code, around the corner, who are in their community doing this work. So we can connect them to the patients in the trial, to the doctors, and hopefully build some community in that setting. So, you know, like we know some, you know, if Mo's on the list, we got people in her area that are going to give you know, we say we put a hug around the science. So we try to bring the local community to the PI so they are engaged and really can understand it. Like one of our favorite PIs is Gregory Vidal. We love him, Dr. Greg. In Memphis, we love Dr. Greg. He's not only is he really cute, but but he's also just a jewel. He's just a big heart. And I asked him one time, like, what is your secret sauce? And he said, I love my people. And he does love on them. He's in the community. He's going to people's houses, and his family's all involved, and the babysitting for the kids, and like, I mean, you know, cooking dinner for families. And he's like in the community. So women trust him and they want to participate, and they trust that he's giving them the best care. So we're trying to build more doctors like that and make them feel like that. And we have a bunch that we work with that are going to be involved, you know, in this trial, you know, Dr. Mizell and Dr. Amini. So we know that, you know, we try to love on those doctors too, so they feel it. So I finally found my picture. I wanted to show this one picture, and I think I've shown you this, Paris, but this is from our Cancer Grand Challenge that we're working on. And it's a picture of a triple negative lymph node cell from the lab. So it's from Guy Cancer Center in King's College in London, Dr. Sheba Ershad. So this data isn't published yet, but this big guy is a Black one, and this little guy is a white one. So I am not a scientist, I am not a doctor, but what this says to me is that they look nothing alike, right? And I'm sure that there's a better scientific explanation, but to me, this is the crux of why we need Black women in this research, that we need to have this cell, not only this cell represented in this research, and why it's so important that we as Black women participate in these studies to understand.
I think it speaks to the fact, though, Ricky, also that, you know, even within triple negative, all triple negative is not
Not the
created.
same. Mm-mm.
And I think that it's something not just along racial, ethnic, and ancestral
Right.
lines, but even within the umbrella of triple negative, there's, you know, inflammatory, which we know is more
Right.
aggressive. There's anaplastic, which we see more
Right.
Black and brown people who are anaplastic, who are metaplastic, right? Some of these aggressive subtypes that don't always respond to certain things. And it's why there's so much more testing beyond the initial testing, because we get that question a lot. At least I do. My patients will come to see me and say, okay, they want to do another biopsy. They want to do more testing and more testing. And I said, well, the more we know, the more specific we can be, right? Because just to know that your ER
Right.
and your PR and your HER2, that's like the floor. That's not the ceiling anymore, right? That's the baseline of the menu. That's not the how you say, the whipped cream and the cherries on top.
Right.
And the,
Right.
that not in genomic testing, not in cancer research anymore.
Right.
That's just where we start. That's the
Right.
basic menu, right? It's a value menu,
Right.
right? You want the rest
Right.
of things. We got to do more testing, and we need to get more details about your cancer, how not only what it has, but how
What
it's
it
going to
doesn't have.
respond.
Yeah.
How's it going
Yeah.
to behave?
How's it going to
Because
behave? Yeah,
Exactly. There's
yeah,
HER2 low, right? That behaves like negative, right? But you could have HER2 expression and they could put you on a drug and you thinking, okay, I'm getting what's right for me, but it's not behaving in the same
in the
manner.
same way, right.
And
Well, yeah, we
so
also know, Melissa and Clayton did a study. They did this study in 2018 at Johns Hopkins, and they found that 68% of Black women with triple negative breast cancer actually have quadruple negative breast cancer because they're missing an antibody. And so, but no one really has ever researched it and done anything about it. So we don't really know. And I mean, it happens to white women too. I mean, the whole quadruple negative breast cancer thing, but it just says that there's so many unknown things about the science. And so it's so important to have clinical trials to be able to participate in the science and see, how it's going to help our cancer. And not only, help your cancer for today, but also build a legacy for your kids.
Exactly.
What do you say it, Val?
I just think it's important for us to get those messages out in the community before someone has to make that critical decision about a clinical trial. And that's why we have to continue to talk about it and normalize it. Because we think about even just medicines for chronic disease, again, we've not been participating. So anything that we can do to help get those messages out in
Yeah.
places like you always say, work, play, slay,
Live,
and
work, play, pray, and slay.
yeah, yeah, because everybody
Yeah,
doesn't
I
go to
mean,
church,
I wish
and
we
so yeah.
and church. Yeah, I wish it was taught in high school. I wish we learned about it in biology class. I mean, not that we all remember that stuff, but there's some things that stick in your mind, right?
Mhm.
That you learned in school that should stay with you. But frankly, it's hard to understand this when you're on fire.
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
want families to think about this and know about it before they're on fire and they're in a crisis. And you've just been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, whether it's a progression or whether it's de novo. And I was with Stephanie Walker this week in Portugal, and this conference was so good. I love Stephanie so much. We hung out. She was my hangout buddy for dinner, and she has been metastatic for 8 years on her first line treatment.
still on first line. That's wonderful.
No, but she went off first line. She went off
Okay.
treatment with the advice of 4 different oncologists, and she had a progression and had to start second line. So and she was de novo. De novo means you're automatically metastatic. You don't have an early stage breast cancer and then it progresses. It's automatically metastatic. So, but she went for 8 years with no progression. And she made a very calculated decision to go off treatment and said, if I had to do it over again, I would have done that. But the fact that she had a progression was a shock to her. And I think that's where people are. That, Steph, I know I'm talking about you. I wish you were here to talk about it for yourself, but I mean, it was a shock because like, wait a minute, I'm good. Like, how'd that happen? We had Michelle Anderson. She had early stage, it progressed to metastatic in 2 years. And then she went progression free for a couple of years, and then it came back in her brain. And again, she was in shock. So she is very, has been doing clinical trials. And so both of them are very, understanding of clinical trials. But I'm just saying that you're in a situation where you're shocked. You're like, how does this happen to me? Like, wait a minute, what's going on, right? And that's when you say, well, let me tell you about this drug. So
it's hard to bring it up at a time when people are trying to figure out their finances, their future, their kids, their all of the things. Like, there is never, I suppose, an optimal time to bring up a clinical trial, right? But it is something that should be brought up as part of and normalized as part of the conversation and not an afterthought. And not one of the pamphlets that goes in the bag or in the binder of all the other things.
Right.
And then there's a section that says clinical trials. And that's what ends up happening is that,
Right.
Cancer centers will check the box and say, well, we gave them information on trials, but did you really sit down and did you go over it?
Right.
Did you talk about the benefit and did you talk about the logistics of how it's not going to inconvenience this person's life any more than cancer has already inconvenienced their life? because that's the reality. That's what they're thinking about.
Oh, yeah.
Besides the whole experimental drug thing, they're thinking, okay, how many more appointments and what do I have to do? And what about my family? What about dinner? How many more co-pays and all these other
Right.
things?
Right. Or how
But
many
we-
more appointments, how many more scans, and you know, that's
Yeah.
why I actually love clinical trials, because I think you get better care and you don't have to pay for it. I mean, you get better care, you get more prodding, you get, you know, if you were just to start a chemo regimen today, you probably wouldn't get a scan for 3 or 4 months. So you don't even know the drug's working, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but what if
I didn't get scanned
Sometimes
until I
longer,
finished my
6 months.
chemo. Yeah, I didn't, I
Yep.
finished before I got a scan, right? If you're on a trial, they're gonna scan you like constantly, which is great, because you're gonna
Very
know this stuff is working or it's not, and we're gonna go to plan B.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
we do
And
that,
plan B is always
absolutely.
the standard,
Right,
right? That's
right,
really
right,
important.
right,
Um,
right, right.
Let me ask you this thing, as an investigator, how, if I have a patient, I'm going to enroll them in a trial, or let's say this trial, and they're not sure, and I say, okay, there's some resources, like at what point do we plug patients into Touch? And what happens
Oh.
next, I guess? And is it
Yeah.
on the investigator? Is it the part of the patient? Is it this company? Like, how does it actually logistically, where are the different touch points where somebody could get the support that Touch is offering?
Sure. So Touch is, we have notified our investigators that Touch is a partner, and therefore they should be letting their patients know that this is an available resource to them. Because I work for the sponsor company being AstraZeneca, we do not have any contact with any patients, so we cannot provide any of that information. So we do, unfortunately, leave it to the investigators to provide that level of information to the patients, but it is out there. We provide them with contact information, the website information, how to get in touch with Ricky and Valerie. We've got emails, we've got a little bit of everything. On the other side of that is, if anyone is interested in joining this clinical trial that is on this call, Ricky and team do have their available resources to be able to answer your call, get your email, talk to you, and find an available clinical trial site that is running the study so that they can connect you, so that we have a warm transfer to get you to see if you're eligible. They'll do, you know, somewhat of a bit of a screener just to see if you're eligible, and then get you to a site that is running the study. Another way that patients can, you know, look and see what is out there and available is clinicaltrials.gov. It is not the easiest site to navigate by any stretch. So if you're listening to this, please reach out to Ricky and Val and your doctor, anyone that can help you and guide you through clinicaltrials.gov. It is a very old website. It's not easy to navigate, but you can go on there and search TNBC and see if there is any clinical trial that might be available to you, and or any kind of medical condition you might have. The one thing I think, you know, my personal goal is to educate every primary physician out there to understand clinical trials are a thing, and that they need to be notifying their patients at well visits, not when they're sick. But let's talk about a clinical trial when you come in, just because, hey, maybe it's something that might pop up. There might be something you're interested in. Maybe you're changing a diet or something, or you're interested in a new diet. There's clinical trials for everything out there.
Everything.
And so if we introduce this idea very early on, it's not as scary when it comes to, oh no, I need something. There's trials AstraZeneca runs for asthma and COPD and cardiovascular disease and all kinds of things as well. So, you know, clinical trials are something that's out there, and I would really encourage people to have a look, ask your doctor, and certainly talk to Touch.
I've done about 8. I've done like one for stress.
Oh.
I've done one for the chemicals on my body. I wore a bracelet for 3 weeks, and I did another one with the bracelet of chemicals in my environment. So there's all kinds of trials, but really we actually, I put our email address in the comment section, but it's clinicaltrials@touchbbca.org. If you email that, I'll say it again, it's in the comments, but clinicaltrials@touchbbca.org. And then also, you know, our When We Trial site, Paris, basically puts a hug around clinicaltrials.gov. So if you go on our whenwetrial.org website, you can go and you can put in TNBC, you can put in your zip code, you can put in anything you want, and it will give you trials in your area, and it'll find this trial there as well. But if you specifically want to talk about the Tropion trial, you know, we're here for you. I'll put my email address on there too, but really clinicaltrials@touchbbca.org. And we're going to be talking about this more and more. We're going to have it on our social media. more and more information about this trial, and we're happy to talk at all about TNBC, and we'll put it on our sanctuary site. We have a special website just for Black women with triple negative breast cancer, TNBCsanctuary.org. So we have a lot of sources and resources, and we also are preparing materials. So I basically email the doctors at the sites about once a month and send them a love letter. So just to remind them that we're here for your patients. Here's how you can connect to us, and then we can connect you to the trial. So
I think, Ricky, the other thing that we do is we also look at the zip code of the site, the study
Yeah.
site, and then discover what churches are close to those sites,
yeah,
and then reach out to those faith leaders. Because for the most part, patients will either tell their pastor first and then their families, or vice versa. But rarely is the pastor the third person to know.
Right.
First or second. So wouldn't it be wonderful if that pastor says, when you go in to see your doctor, they're going to talk about your disease and treatment, and they may even talk about a clinical trial. Don't close your ears to that. Listen to what they're saying. Because when that pastor puts his thumb of approval on something, I think that probably eliminates a few barriers in terms of the fear and anticipation of a trial. So building those relationships in the faith community is critical to this
yeah.
work that we do.
Yeah, Val has a saying, after you pray, what do you say? So she has a whole litany to give to pastors about how to talk to, patients when they're sick, because they're coming to them first. So
Oh, I think that's huge, Val, because that is truly where some of these conversations go to either live or die, right? Because the misinformation can happen right there.
Right
Or
there.
the information that says, you know what, I'm so proud of you. This is wonderful, and we need to talk about this at our next XYZ. And
Right.
it becomes a model for how churches can truly put that faith into action,
Yes.
right? And partner smartly for community health. So I absolutely love that. After you pray, what do you say?
What do you say?
Wow.
Actually, my pastor last week, he played one of our When We Trial videos during service, which was really awesome. And then he talked about the fact that he had done a COVID trial. And so that, that he had his own firsthand experience with. So I got the COVID shot before any of y'all, but I think he, we have 8,000 members in our church, and it was a great opportunity for them to hear from him. I did one, it's okay. So talk to Ricky, which was really great. We wish we could do it. And Val's doing the same thing in churches all over North Carolina. So, when we play our videos, people I get that. So we'll keep doing that. We know that's working because we got 30,000 people hit our website, but we still need more. And we still need you if you're thinking about it, whoever's watching us. Some people are talking, Pink Breasty Sister said she needs one for arthritis and fibromyalgia. Well, let's look for that for you,
Absolutely.
because I started earlier today or yesterday kind of making a list of all the things a patient has to sort of think about, and I'm going to get your help from all of you guys to that. But it's really like, what are the side effects? Well, guess what? For this trial, they're better than the other stuff. They're better, they're not so bad. You're going to have them. That's part of the draw. But where's the trial located? Is it in your neighborhood? And I think one of the things Val does when she says, I look up the zip code, she also finds, where's the local farmers market? Where's the church? Where's the community center? Where's some blessies in that market that we can talk to? So we really do try to bring you resources where you live, even though we're on Zoom, but and our conversations are virtual. Val does a deep dive, in her AI friend that she loves, to find out where you live and how you can get help in your area, right? What's your history? And I think a lot of women, once you become metastatic, you go down this path, but every drug you take could impact the next drug you could take. And when I talk to metastatic women, they're thinking, okay, well, this drug is working for me right now, but I'm already thinking about what happens when it fails. So kind of thinking about the sequence of things, and now looking at the landscape for the things that are available for triple negative. What should you take first? Do you have a PD-L1 biomarker? All those factors, and we can help you talk through all of those things. Have you ever been on a trial before? Could imply, make some indications of it. Where you're metastatic. Is it in different body parts? Is it in your bones? Is it in your liver? Is it in your lungs? Is it in your brain? Because sometimes people are excluded because of where your mets are, but we can also help you through that. So all of those things. And then do you have diabetes? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have other factors that could indicate, thing? But I think that, this trial, what's great about it is that you don't have to worry about those things. It's here for you. And, it could work for you. It could
Yeah.
save your life. It could save your life. It could
It's
save your-
already working. I see people saying, I'll be in touch and I want to get
Yeah.
connected. And,
Yeah.
we had I think our show last week, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
Ricky, was all about a website that will link you to trials for lupus,
Yeah.
for fibromyalgia, for
Right,
diabetes, for
yeah.
prostate
I'm
cancer,
gonna put
right?
that
Like,
one in there for you, Pink Breasty
I,
Sister.
I think
Oh.
so, because that sounds like something she would benefit from.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you're watching and thinking about a trial, one question you could ask your doctor is, and this is where I think also where we lose people, is ask your doctor, is there a clinical trial that's right for me? And if
Right.
your doctor immediately says, oh, you're not there yet,
Don't
pause.
listen.
Because where is there?
Where is
Right?
it?
Does that mean I have to be metastatic? Does that mean my disease has to get worse, doctor? Does that mean, like what does that mean? And you can push back a little bit to try to get some clarity around it, because that doctor may be suggesting to you that a clinical trial is only for people in dire straits when no other treatment works.
Right,
And that's
last
not the
resort.
case.
It's last
It's
resort.
not a last resort. And I think that too is where we lose a lot of folks in the community, and they say, you know what, you're not there yet. And so I think that something around that language to
Yeah.
be able to back
Yeah,
and to say, oh, I'm right there.
I'm there.
I'm
Yeah.
right there in
We
the
are
center of
there
it.
yet. We are there
Yeah.
yet, right? We
Yeah,
are there.
yeah.
And
Right,
especially,
right.
especially if you're de novo, if you're automatically diagnosed metastatic, you are there. And if you're a Black woman with triple negative breast cancer, because that picture I just showed you, a clinical trial is your best treatment outcome. You're going to get a better quality of care. You're going to get all the support that we give, and you're going to be in a better situation. And it's not even a risk, because at a minimum, you're going to get, and even if you get the standard of care arm, as Paris talked about, the 2 arms, you're still going to get a better quality of care. You're still going to get that extra
More
trust
attention.
and more
Exactly.
attention than
More
you would have
surveillance and
gotten,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
Right, because you're in the trial. So there's it's a win-win situation all around. You're still going to get.
I think the other thing to mention is that you can always, there are some trials that are crossover. So if you're in one, you can sometimes cross over to another arm. But that if you decide you don't want to be in a trial anymore,
Yeah.
you can always opt out of that
I'm
trial.
done. Yeah.
Paris, I think people don't always understand that either.
They
Yeah.
can, and the consent form that you sign, it says that. You don't have to give a reason. You can just say you don't want to be involved any longer, and
Right.
that's it. It's up to you. You can back out
Right.
at any time, so you're not locked in forever.
It's not like signing a cell phone contract.
No, it's not signing for a house. I know sometimes those consents, it can be a little long, but it's
Right.
really not. You are not obligated to stay in forever.
Yeah. And Val is a whiz at informed consent. She'll help you understand it. And, it's like those drug commercials. There where there's 2 seconds on, I'm riding on a horse with my triple negative breast cancer, to like the, 45 seconds of you're going to die. Right. We hate those commercials, but no, we're excited that, that we have options for triple negative. We're really excited that we have an option that's already been proven,
Mhm.
that has really good results. And then you're going to get that drug plus all of this love, because we have lots of love to give. And Val, you sound
They
6.
will know if it
That's
works.
how it-
That looks
You
like
sound
us,
like 6.
is if we have the data, if we join the trials. And that's
Yeah.
really, just want to push that point home. It's the only way we're ever going to know what works for us and our grandbabies
And
and
our grandbabies.
our grandbabies, our family, our aunts, those
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
you're
are.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
And Paris, I think one of the most profound things a lady said to me about clinical trials, she says, Valerie, if they're approved and there are not enough underrepresented minority patients, we're on a trial after it's approved. And I was like, wow, that was
We
a
are.
drop the mic moment, because she's
Well,
absolutely
yeah.
right.
Yeah. And frankly, any drug we take, we're on a trial for our bodies as Black women.
Right.
any drug we take, you're already on a trial because we don't have enough data. And we do know, you know, the two reasons why Black women don't participate, our doctors don't invite us. So don't depend on your doctor. Don't depend on your doctor. And our data shows that, our research shows that even when the patient brings up a trial conversation to the doctor, they still walk away feeling uninformed to make a decision, as Val talked about earlier, and go home to their family and say, wait a minute, they don't have the information. And so that's when you have to call us, because, you know, we can help you craft that conversation. What do you ask the doctor for? Or we can find another doctor.
Yeah.
So we got the list of all the doctors in the trial. We're happy to match you with one of them, you know? So,
So for
Yeah,
people who are
it's so much fun.
watching, you know, I think if they're on the fence, right, or if they know somebody who just got diagnosed and they're like,
Right.
okay, I don't know if they got triple negative, triple whatever. I don't know what all of the things are, but I
Right.
know my good girlfriend at work or at church just got diagnosed with something. Give us 3 things that they should be saying, doing, or like what are the takeaways from today for them for tomorrow?
yeah.
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah, go for it.
What have you been, what did the doctor say? Let's start there. I think a
Right.
lot of times
Yeah.
it's, you know, kind of what
Yes.
did you hear back? What did you hear the doctor say? It's extremely important that that's the first thing. Is it triple
Right.
negative? Did you hear them say that it's triple negative? Have you heard anything about biomarker testing?
Right.
And what did they say are the next steps? Those are the questions I always ask first. It's actually what I asked my own sister when she was diagnosed. It was, what did they say? What did they call it? She didn't really know. It was
Yeah.
not really
And
sure.
a lot of us
because
don't, a lot of us don't know. We
no,
don't know.
we don't know. So
No.
go into your My Chart if you
Yeah.
don't know and take a look. Make sure that you have that access and you can go and empower yourself. And then go take a look around. Let's see, do I have biomarker? What is the biomarker? Did they do any biomarker testing? If you don't know, let's find out. And then find out what is next for you. Did they put you on medication? What are those
Right.
medications? What kind of
Right.
medications those are? And then I would really suggest that you pick up the phone and call Ricky and call Valerie and call whomever you can that's on this
Right.
line,
Yeah.
that we can get more information
here.
for you.
Yeah.
and help you
Yeah.
through it.
Because it is difficult.
It's
Mo
hard.
and I working on a case, and
Yes.
you can go on those cancer sites.
Mhm.
Oh my
So
God,
hard.
The
Yeah.
labyrinth.
it
You
is
go in there and
so
get lost.
hard.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
hard. It's
It's
not
hard.
easy to navigate any
It's
of
not.
it. You're aware of it. And that's
No.
part of the reason why we want to partner with Touch and community organizations to really help those to
Yeah.
understand. There's things that I myself, like you saw me looking through things because I've got 25 or so trials that I'm looking through. It's really confusing and it can be, and you
Right.
need someone sometimes to kind of get you through it. So don't
Get you-
feel like you're the only one. Ask for help, pick up the phone, call, send an email, and get somebody that can really support you through it.
Right.
Make sure that you advocate for yourself always,
Mhm.
and know
Always.
what your medical records say. They're yours.
Absolutely.
There it is. And you know, the doctor works for you. You are
Yeah.
the CEO of your body. You're the CEO of your health.
Yeah.
Be the CEO, be the boss of yourself. And we're here to help you be the boss and give you the tools. And, you know, one of the things we're finding is, you know, a lot of women actually get diagnosed from their My Chart. They get that My Chart at 4 o'clock in the morning and they're freaking out and they may not see a doctor for 3 weeks. And that's when I call Val. Val, did you get that email? Val, did you get that text? Because we call them and we say, okay, we're going to talk to you and help you prepare for this first meeting with your doctor. Because, you know, and Mo's helped us make a list of what are the questions you should ask your doctor on that first visit. And so we share that and try to help people through that conversation. But, you know, it's okay to feel like you don't know. And even you know, if you go to a drug website, we can't understand that stuff. Like those words are, I can't spell those words, you know, and then you start like, even when the way you described it, you know, antibody drug conjugate, that's not on that website. It says ADC and you're like, what? So that's why we're here to translate, to transcreate, and to put a hug around it, because you know, it's okay not to know. Why would we know? You know, why would anyone know how a clinical trial works? If you called anybody in your family, they wouldn't know. So that's what we're here for, you know?
And Ricky, it's also important. I help patients to identify someone in their family or a friend that can be their sound counsel. Because when you get to the doctor, you remember this, you go into the doctor's office and
Love that.
they explain everything, you forget half of what they say. But if you have someone that's taking notes or recording that, then that takes some of that stress and strain off of you. And
Right.
that's so important. People, the
important.
people that I've seen as a navigator that's had that person that can, I call them the scribe, that can write down everything and make you accountable. They've been
Right.
successful. So I want people to know that you don't do it alone, and we'll help you identify that person that can come alongside you. Right.
Yeah, and we'll FaceTime
Yeah.
with you if you need help. If you
Yeah,
don't have
yeah.
anybody, I've been thrown out of many doctors' offices on FaceTime.
Yes, she has.
Asking questions. Because I'll ask the hard questions, but yeah, we're happy to do that with you, FaceTime or Zoom with your doctor or be on, conference call. We do it a lot, so we're happy to do that and help you through those conversations. All right, so I have to share this picture because this is why I work.
Yeah.
This is why I do this work. My new baby.
Oh, the grandbaby.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
This
goodness.
is Jetson. This is my favorite thing. When we hang up, that's what I'm gonna go do. See my Jetson. But so God gave me another set of boobs, my 4th grandbaby. Right.
Oh,
But
girl.
yeah, so that's why we work, because I don't want her to even know these words.
Yes.
I want to put us all out of a job before she
Mhm.
gets boobs, you know?
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to do that is to make the drugs work. And we have to participate, you know?
Has to work.
We are at the table. We are not on the menu.
That's right.
Love that.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, we put all the links in the chat for Facebook. We invite
Yeah.
you to please share with
Yeah.
your social media networks. We're on
Yeah.
YouTube, share on your YouTube, on your Instagram, and let people know, one, clinical trials are not a bad word, right? You get
No.
tomorrow's treatments, tomorrow's solutions today. That is
Today.
a good thing. It's a good thing for us.
Yeah.
And you get less toxic, more personalized treatment, more personalized
Right.
care.
Yeah.
So we need to rebrand and change the stigma around clinical trials.
Absolutely.
It
We
starts
do.
with people watching, sharing this work to those that you know who are either diagnosed, who are in treatment. You don't have to be in current treatment. There are trials for survivorship, exercise, mental
Yeah,
health,
everything.
Right.
everything.
Yeah, everything.
Everything.
And know that behind the scenes, there are awesome people like Paris,
Mhm.
Bingo.
working on this stuff and she's breaking barriers on her huge drug company. AstraZeneca is a huge global company, so that we are so grateful for the partnership, but also we know that you are a badass doing this work
Yes.
in these walls, and and making our voices heard, and making it known how important that we are represented in this work. So thank you for that.
And we appreciate you and all that you do. You guys are amazing, and we look forward to seeing great things from this partnership and
Yeah.
how far we can go.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's
And
do
it's great. Let's do it.
It's great. So we're going to post about the trial on our social probably later today. And if you have anything, clinicaltrials@touchbbc.org, or Ricky@touchbbc.org, or Valerie at Touch, and we're all
Mhm.
here and we are ready to go.
Ready to go.
Thank you for being with us on a Sunday.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we'll do it again. We'll do another show. We're gonna
Oh, yeah.
talk
I
about
love
what's
it.
going on. Yeah. All right.
Absolutely love that. So clinical trials, do it, say it, get into all this good stuff, and
Yeah.
reach out to Touch, because there is such support for you and for
Yeah,
your loved
we got you.
So, all the
Yeah.
barriers are being removed, right? The only
They are.
barriers is our willingness to participate. So Paris, thank you for coming,
Yes.
and for making the effort to really reach out to people to let them know
Yeah.
about this trial,
Yeah.
specifically for Black and Brown women. If you
Yeah.
have metastatic triple negative breast cancer, one, we know it's not a death sentence, but we know
No.
that there's a lot of hope and a lot of resources. So,
And we're here.
relatable, reliable reels, what we do every single time Black Doctor gives us a chance to run our mouths, right?
Right, we do.
We're so
Thank you, Black
thankful.
Doctor. Right, we're grateful for the platform.
That's
So
And
grateful.
we'll see you
Yes.
Wednesday night.
I'll see you Wednesday night. Bless you, love.
Let's do
Guys,
love.
Wednesday night, we're going to talk about Care for Her and all the great things we did in October with Care for Her, and AstraZeneca supported that program for
Oh.
us too.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful.
Navigation.
We are
So,
grateful
yeah.
for that support as well. So
Yeah.
Yes.
You
Great.
too. Okay. Love you guys. Love you, Mo. Love you,
Love you
Val.
too.
Bye-bye. Love you guys.
Bye.